Johnny Money Making Mejia. So that name right there was not given to me. I didn't give it to myself. It was given to me by actually a customer. So I was calling on the customer, you know, I do industrial sales. So I was calling on him, and I remember one day we were outside and I was trying to sell him on some product that I had. But then I said, excuse me, my phone was ringing. And I picked up the phone, it was my guys. You know, I also own a landscape company. It was one of my crews, they were calling me and asking me questions. I said yes, I was telling them this and that, what they needed to do. And I hung up the phone and my phone rang again. I said, hey, excuse me, let me take this phone call also. At that time, it was my property manager saying, hey, something was going on with one of the properties that I own. And he was telling me what should I do? Did he have the okay? And I told him yes. And he comes out, he goes, dude, you never stop, do you? I go, no. I go, why? What do you mean? He goes, you never stop hustling. I said, no, I don't stop hustling. I said, because I know where I need to be and where I need to take my family and where I want my family to be. He goes, man, Johnny Money Making Mejia. He goes, you just never stop hustling. I was like, and I like the way that sounded, right? It was just music to my ears, Johnny, and I repeated it, Johnny Money Making Mejia. And this was actually probably about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago when he gave me this nickname. And every now and then, you know, I just goofed around with the name. And, you know, when I'd have new salespeople, I'd take them over to see them, to introduce them to one of our new sales members or whatnot, and I said, yeah, this guy calls me Johnny Money Making Mejia, just goofing around. I don't know, I'll call him out of the blue. Hey, what do you call me? And I'd have him on speaker, Johnny Money Making Mejia. And I said, see, it's not that a name that I gave myself. He gave me that name, and I've taken it and I've ran with it because he saw something in me from the get-go. He knew my story. I had already told him my story about going to prison and losing everything, right? The reason I went to prison and how I changed my life. So he's a Christian himself. So we're actually brothers in Christ. And for him to come out, he was like, man, Johnny, that's you all in all right there. Johnny Money, because you don't stop. Which is true. I mean, from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, I tell my wife I go about 120 miles an hour. All I ask when people, coming alongside me, do 90. Don't do the speed limit. Don't do 75. Do 90. Just try to keep up. So, but yeah, that's how Johnny Money Making Mejia came. It was a name that was given to me, but it's just a persona, attitude, how I carry myself, everything is what I show off to people, right? That person gave me that name because he knew. He was like, man, you're a nonstop hustler. So the most important childhood story that I share with people, because it wasn't until Hurricane Harvey hit when my parents lost everything, and my wife and I we had water damage to 2 of our properties. And I shared something with her that I had never shared with anybody. And it was my purpose or my why. I've always wanted to be successful. So in 3rd grade, a teacher asked us to draw our house on where we lived at. So I, being that age, what was I, like 9 or 10? And I drew my house. And there was a young boy that he made fun of me. He ridiculed me. He said, Johnny, why did you draw your house that big? It's not that big. I know where you live. It crushed me. And I remember when I told my wife, I was in tears because it hurt me so bad. And like more and more that I've shared that story, I've used that to, instead of using it as a negative and to bring me down, it gives me power to say, hey, I was that little boy that was ridiculed, but I made a vow that day that I was going to be so successful that no one was ever going to make fun of me or my children of where we lived. I said that. I told that to myself. That's why I was going to be successful. So in my childhood, I grew up poor. We did. I'm not going to say I had all my needs. I didn't have the wants. My parents came over. They came over from Matamoros, Mexico on a work visa. They didn't become citizens till late in age, right? here. My dad, I remember my dad having to go back and forth to Mexico to renew his work visa. But my dad, and I always say this, my dad was my Superman, right? Because even though he only had an elementary education, he instilled in me a work ethic that has no stop. And he would always tell me, he goes, son, he goes, you need to go to college. You need to go to college. You can't be a burro, which is like a donkey or a jackass like me, right? Like your dad. I didn't even finish elementary school because I had to go to work. And so he instilled that into me at an early age, that he wanted me to be better than him, no matter what. But he was, when I say he was my Superman, he gave me a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food on the table. I never lacked for none of that. Never in my life. My father provided all that. I might not have like the fancy Jordans that everybody had or the name brand clothes, but him and my mother did the best they could to raise me and my 3 siblings. I don't blame them. They worked their asses off to give us what we had. There in my town, part of our family is known for the drug trade. And I remember always, telling myself that I was gonna be better than them. I'm gonna be better than them. That's why I'm going to college. High school, I'm always super competitive. My work ethic is it's like I said, you're not gonna outwork me. And that's just been my attitude. I try to be valedictorian of my class. I ended up being number 4, but I played football. Like the top 10 people in our school were all in band. I was the only sports guy. I ran track, nothing that you could tell, but I played football. I played soccer also. So I mean, I always competed with them when it came to grades. I wanted to be the best, right? And that's why I told myself, I'm gonna go to college. That way I don't have to run the same legacy, the same run in life as my cousins, right? Gang banging, in and out of prison, selling dope on the streets, not better in their lives, right? I thought myself better than them, right? When I was applying for colleges, I only applied to a couple colleges, and I remember telling my parents, I said, Mom, Dad, if I don't get into college, I'm going to the military. My mom was made up. But I did. I got accepted into college, Texas A&M, whoop. So, so I got accepted there. I went on some scholarships. I ended up getting some scholarships and on Pell Grants. So pretty much my first year and a half, almost 2 years of schooling was paid for on Pell Grants. And again, because we didn't have that much money, that the government gave me money and my scholarships. I was in the Corps, got to be in the Corps at A&M. I did it because I wanted on-campus housing, but I signed up too late, so all the on-campus housing was gone. But we went up to visit. They told my mother and I, funny story real quick. We were driving up to Texas A&M, and we got off at Prairie View A&M, and we drove that, and I'm looking around, I'm like, my mom's like, I don't think, Mijo, this isn't A&M. I don't think we're in the right place. So needless to say, we were at the wrong, I just saw A&M, and I told Mom, oh, Mom, this is it. And it was Prairie View A&M. We had to go a little bit further up to 90 to Highway 6 to go to College Station. So we ended up in College Station, and my mom was like, we were going around, we did the core thing, and I started asking questions. I said, hey, I didn't get on-campus housing because my mom and I were going to start looking for an apartment. And I said, if I join the Corps, do I guaranteed on-campus? He was like, yes, you're guaranteed a room on campus. And so I had to make a decision. I was like, either I join the Corps and get on-campus housing, or I put my parents in a bind and pay for off-campus housing, which would be a lot more. So I joined the Corps. And being the guy that I am, right, I was, the sophomores are kind of like your drill instructors, right? And I was a freshman, and they would always, I'd say they'd always pick on me, but it was just because of my attitude. I kind of had a chip on my shoulder, and it's called the Fish Drill Team, and it's for freshmen only. And if you were the top freshmen in the Corps are on this team, they go out, you try out, there's a lot of physical, mental things that you got to do, and only the top freshmen make the team. And I told myself, that's me. And I went and I did it, I made it, right? Fish Mejia, they'd always say, Fish Mejia blew me off. I didn't greet somebody. And so I got, again, I was a little defiant. But needless to say, I made it through my freshman year. So I came home after my freshman year, but my sophomore year I was there. And one of my core buddies asked me, he was, hey man, y'all know anybody can get some weed? I go, yeah man. I said, my cousins sell weed all the time back home. They're like, well, hey, you think you can get some? I go, yeah, let me make some phone calls. I called my cousin up. He's like, yeah, primo, come on down. So I came down, my primo gave me a quarter pound of weed. So I went down, my cousin gave me a quarter pound of weed. He's like, just send me the money as you get it. All right, came back, man, it was like within a week. Just people knew, oh, you got weed? And it's just one of those things on college campuses, right? And that right there started my downward spiral. And I realized fast money. I said, this is how I'm gonna be successful. All right, I'm going to college, I'm gonna make money, all right? I got busted with 18 hours left in college. By that time, I was already selling cocaine, ecstasy, acid, weed, hydro, steroids. I mean, you name it, I was the man on campus. Like if you wanted a drug on campus, I was the guy to talk to. Or somebody knew me, that they would come get it from me. And in 3 years, I mean, I was just, by that time, I really wasn't even dealing with my cousins anymore. I had made some other connections in Houston. I was always considered myself a businessman. Man, I was making a couple grand a week, like just consistently every week. That's how I was probably buying what we considered, a quarter bird, which is, at that time was what, like $4,500, like every 2 weeks or so. So, but I was tripling it when I was here in College Station. So again, I didn't have to work. I did whatever I wanted. Just going out every night. It was there in College Station. It wasn't that expensive, but it was, I was a baller, And the DEA was waiting for me at the county line. And as soon as I passed county line, I got pulled over. Brazos County police officer on the side. And I was like, okay, I said, I'm not speeding. And he turns on those lights. And I'm like, oh, hell. I was like, I know I'm not speeding. And he goes, I was like, maybe he's getting somebody else. Nope, he's pulling me over. I was like, oh, shit.